What's going on, Minnesota Viking fans? Welcome to the Purple People Podcast. My name is Kyle Smith, and I am joined, as always, by Adam Carlson. How are you, sir?
Welcome to the Purple People Podcast After Dark. Minnesota Vikings Confessions.
Ooh, Vikings Confessions.
I like that. That's a good
Branding
idea.
us already.
That's a good idea for a show segment.
It is.
Ooh.
And up there,
I tell all my stupid takes anyway, so a confessions by me would be kind of tame because I've already outed most of my Vikings dirty laundry.
Cliff's making the Triple H reference, and I'm thinking with that deep voice, the EA Sports, it's in the game. That's exactly what I'm hearing when Adam was talking like that.
But the Triple H retiring is sad.
It is
sad to know he won't be in a ring wrestling anymore, and that's the end of an era. But we got a new era starting for the Minnesota Vikings, new GM, new leadership. But it's all seeming kind of familiar in some ways too. But we'll talk about that.
Occasionally, it feels that way. It feels like some of the new moves are exactly like the old moves when you sign a guard who is fucking terrible. But you know.
They're all the same look. Blue Steel, La Tigre.
Before we get going, let's discuss this. We're not going to talk about Will Smith, are we? We're not doing it.
I'm going to tell you right now, that was staged as hell, and I think that they are playing all of us, and I don't believe 1 second that Will Smith committed an assault on live television, and then nothing happened about it. Premeditated.
And let's move on to Vikings football.
Yep, there we go.
Yep.
Yeah, we named this episode. I named this episode today after Jesse Davis because we got our starting right guard, guys. How happy are we?
Did we though?
We got a guard.
So let's start. Let's talk about it. Let's start here because obviously the show's named after him, and that's a big part of what this team. I've been a fan following this. If you guys didn't know of this team since Favre came in, that's how much I've dedicated and truly paid attention to the team. I am a newer fan. But I can tell you after that 2010 season, this offensive line has been a struggle bus. Certain areas, pick a position every year, whatever. We all know this. You guys know this team better than I do, but I've known that for over a decade now. Here's the problem. This is a good signing for depth. I'm not even worried about Jesse Davis. I want to know what the hell's going on with Wyatt Davis. I want to know why there was no look last year. Was it all Zimmer's fault? Or is this kid... Is he better than Oli Udoh? One would think he could be, correct?
Well, we're hoping he comes out of witness protection here this season for the Vikings, and we might.
You'd think that with the terrible, terrible guard play, they would have at least tried him.
And you know what? I see that they were in playoff contention up to the last few weeks, up to that Green Bay game. You want to keep the guys in that have all the chemistry, all that stuff, but at some point you got to take a flyer. I mean. You got to figure that out, and I don't know. It feels like he was kind of hidden, like you were saying. So, Coach K74, any more old Packers we can sign? I'm sure there are a few. That'd be a lot of fun.
Packers have had some good offensive linemen,
and he is referring to Chandon Sullivan, former cornerback for the Packers, now cornerback for the Vikings. Have inked deals. We've inked some other corners as well. Nate Hairston and Ty Smith. There's some depth there.
We could have paid $12 million for MVS.
Oh, good for him. Good for him. And you know what? I don't see a receiver going to that team that's had any sort of success anywhere else not flashing at some point because that's just everyone there has 4 bottle rockets stuck up their ass. But it's wild because analogy. he's gonna be like wide receiver 4 there.
But then you look to it like what happened with Greg Jennings and oh my God, Jordy Nelson. As soon as they left Green Bay, it was like almost nothing.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess Greg Jennings was okay in Minnesota. But I wouldn't go and call it a fantastic signing by any means.
It was not the signing the Vikings had hoped for with that one. And Jordy Nelson, when he went to the Raiders, he was just done.
Done.
He was absolutely done for. Aaron Rodgers is one of those players who really elevates the talent.
Wouldn't it be something if Devontae Adams just struggles now?
Oh, I'd love it.
Probably won't happen since he's familiar with Carr and they played together, but
Yeah.
Still.
I give
Aaron
Josh
Rodgers
McDaniels
could
credit
send
too.
Chad Beebe. He could send Chad Beebe to the Pro Bowl. Like, that's how good of a talent he
That's
is.
funny. That's funny
Yeah.
and true. Yeah, Devontae Adams and Derek Carr played together at was it Fresno State? It's not San Diego State, was it? San Diego State? One of those colleges that isn't huge. I didn't know that until I watched a video on Twitter today, which is really funny. But yeah, I think Devontae's going to be fine. I like the Josh McDaniels hire there as well. Anybody from the Belichick coaching tree that doesn't have a pencil stuck in their ear, I'll take a flyer on. Wyatt Davis can only step up and play. Are you asking or are you saying he can only step up and play center? I'm going to keep him at guard. I'm going to talk myself into this and regret the hell out of it later. I'm going to talk myself into Garrett Bradbury will thrive under Kevin O'Connell. But
I love how Kevin O'Connell was so excited about him, talking about all the things he does well. I mean, it's got me interested to see if he can do something with Bradbury, because in the scheme the Vikings were working with in the last couple of years, it did not play to his strengths since he wasn't a big mauler.
You know what's really funny? I want to keep that same thought and that same subject, but I want to talk about something that Kyle and I talked about on the side, and we brought it to Adam's attention, but it ties into this. This is kind of an analogy to tie them together. We were talking about reviewing old Viking games. That's Kyle's idea, not mine. And
I won't do it.
Yeah, we didn't think you'd be interested. I said the Tuesday night game with Joe Webb, because it was just stupid and weird, right? But how many years on how many teams did we have players that we didn't use to their skill set? And immediately I brought up Joe Webb. What about that playoff game with the Packers? Let him run around, and he's not, I wouldn't say he was a complete difference from Christian Ponder, but he's different. But that's a classic case on this team, right? Not playing players to their strength. Too.
Colin Kaepernick was burning the Packers with his legs for what was it, the last 2 years before that?
Yep.
Yeah.
And the Vikings had an opportunity to do that, and they said, nah.
We're going to make a guy that moves around a pocket passer and try to turn him into Tom Brady.
I actually just watched that opening drive of Joe Webb against the Packers, and he, removed from, being the Vikings fan at that time, he was so fucking terrible. He was so skittish in the pocket. He threw a pass that put Tim Tebow to shame. It floated and bammed and hopped right in front of the receiver, and that was the good drive. It was 8 plays in a row that it was Adrian Peterson that got him into field goal. It was bad.
You know what I really like though is that's the everyman quarterback for everyone. If that was your buddy from high school that made it to the NFL, he has that game that he went off from Philly. If that's his shining moment, that's cool. But talking about bringing this back home to now, to your guys' point, I feel especially under Spielman. I mean, that's all I've known pretty much, being a Van obsessive fan for the last 13 14 years, is they like to take linemen that don't play that position and put them in that position, and they just want to try a project or this is a later move, this is an investment. And it's that was one of the biggest things I've seen that I see this coaching staff, I hope that they don't do, and they haven't done so far, is we're just gonna play a guy out of position, we'll see what happens. It's this
guy that just signed was an offensive tackle for many years of his career, and just recently started dabbling playing guard. So, yeah.
Hopefully he's not the starter then.
I'm not optimistic about him. One of the signings I do find some interesting in, though, is Nate Hairston, the cornerback. You probably haven't seen many of his plays. He hasn't gotten a ton of experience. But when he was on the field, he looked pretty good. And especially on special teams, I feel like he could come to the Vikings. He could sneak away onto the 53, and that he could actually be a contributor on special teams at first, make his way in, and be a decent depth signing. I think this is a sneaky signing right here.
Well, they absolutely need depth right now at the corner. Well, prior to these signings, we're headed in the right direction. Now, I think they've done, 3 corners so far?
Not nearly as interested in Nate in that offensive lineman. Not really interested in Nate Davis.
Yeah, not really too keen on that one either. Dolphins fans were calling him their version of Dakota Dozier. So, that's never a good thing. But hey.
Yeah, he allowed a lot of pressures, quite a few sacks. Was not great.
Yeah. Corner
he had 8 penalties, too, on the season, which ain't great.
God, I didn't know that either. Well, he'll fit right in with this offensive line. He'll suck and he'll get penalties called on him. I like what they're doing with the corner. I still think that's a need that, hey, you want to address early in the draft. Like I was talking to Smith, you trade up, you go draft Sauce, you bring him to Minnesota. I'm still for that route, but having these players in there now, it gives you a little more wiggle room to, okay, maybe it doesn't have to be corner if there's another player that you like that's available as well too.
I'm on Spot Track. I'm on Spot Track right now, and there's some names out there. Trey Waynes, we talked about last week. Would love to have him back. Stephon Gilmore is a name, but he doesn't have any interest with the Vikings that we've heard of. Joe Hayden out of Pittsburgh. Kyle Fuller is a name that I would be on the lookout for.
I thought Gilmore signed.
I don't remember him giving anything official. I know it was down to about 3 teams. I'll have to look it up. I'm just going off of what they gave me for unrestricted free agents available right now, so we'll see.
I'll say Cliff. I don't see the Vikings drafting a center, and as much as I would like them to in early rounds, the way he talked about Bradbury, I really don't think it's going to happen unless that was all smoke. If it was smoke, then he's a good con artist right there because I bought it.
Viking Jerome says he wouldn't mind the Vikings drafting defensive tackle Jordan Davis from Georgia. He's big, fast, and very strong. I love this kid, but I mean, I don't know that he'd play a lot. We still have Dalvin Tomlinson, correct?
We do.
And he just signed the guy from Buffalo.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't really know.
And Armand Watson's still out there who had a decent year.
He's a good backup. He's a good plug and play on a third. You know, I don't know where. Did you be wasting this kid's talent? Because this guy is he's like start right now. He's really good. I wouldn't mind it. Maybe you'll let one of those guys go next year, but that would kind of like go against the signings right now. But that's going to be a steal for whatever team. He's a good player, man, for sure.
If those top corners are gone, things are going to get really interesting.
Still says he's with the Panthers. Stephon Gilmore. I'm looking at these corners here. Kyle Fuller. I don't know who Tavon Young is. Chris Harris from the Chargers is good. Obviously, Pat Pete is on there. Janoris Jenkins, Bryce Callahan, Kevin King, Xavier Rhodes is going to be a
on the Twitch. Happy to have you on my Twitch account here. Good to see you.
Ooh, there's a name I've seen linked right there before. AJ Bouye, only 30.
Oh, yeah.
I would like to have him.
He struggled a bit in recent years, but it's not like he's a done project. Coach K wants to know if this is the year the Vikings finally draft a quarterback. And I'm going to say no. Not because I don't think the Vikings need a quarterback for the future. It's not even because I don't believe in Mond, which I really don't. I mean, he could still prove me wrong. But I do think that this year's quarterback class is a bit weaker than people would like. And when it comes down to the Vikings picks, we're already going to have a couple teams reaching for quarterbacks. And the last time the Vikings reached for a quarterback in the first round, it was not pretty. And then we see the depth as far as the position in the draft, not good. I would say that next year, the 2023 NFL draft, the Vikings will be taking a quarterback in the first 2 rounds. And that's only if they don't end up working out some kind of extension again with Kirk Cousins.
Can I play a hypothetical with you guys?
Of course.
No.
Yeah, he said no.
Yeah, no, we don't want to hear it.
No.
All right, so whoever wants to go first, and you guys in the chat tell me this too. Who is your ideal realistic? Like, I think we all want the safety from Notre Dame. He's not going to be there at 12. And we're not doing any trades, right? Somebody falls, you get your favorite or perfect player for the Vikings at 12. Who is that player to you, Kyle, and to you, Adam, and whoever in the chat? I have a follow-up at this, but I want to know if this person's at 12, you have to take him, and it's a steal for the Vikings, and it worked out, and it's great.
You said no trades, but I don't care. I'm going against your rules. I'm trading up. We're bringing the Sauce to Minnesota. That's what I want. That's what I want to happen. Yeah.
I just want one of those top corners. I actually don't even care which one.
Yeah.
There's some good ones. There's some starting corners going to be right there where the Vikings are picking at 12. He said Aiden. Yeah, I wish that he'd be available. That dude's not leaving the top 3 picks.
He's actually got a decent chance of going number 1 right now is what I'm hearing.
Yeah. Sauce. Yeah, I want Sauce too. Okay, here's the follow-up. and I only bring this up because I'm a diehard North Carolina fan, Coach K. I see you out there. Wild. It's going to be a wild game. I got my cup ready. Like I've got my Charlotte shirt on. I'm ready. The Carolina and Duke have never played in the NCAA tournament. It's weird.
That's a solid shirt, by the way. That's awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. The reason I ask is Sam Howell from North Carolina is probably not going to go in the first round. If he's sitting there at your second round pick, some people view him as a starter. Some people have him going to Detroit at 32. Would you guys be pissed if the Vikings took a second round quarterback this year?
I'll be absolutely honest. I have not paid a lot of attention to the quarterback crop this year, past knowing that they aren't very high on a lot of teams' big boards. So I've got to ask, is he the one that is not very mobile and is more of a pocket passer and all that?
He's kind of like Baker Mayfield, but I would say he's a little more mobile. He did have a lot of mobility in college. I like him. He's just a little undersized, a little Drew Brees to him, but obviously more mobile than Brees. But I don't know. I don't know how I feel. This is answer this question right here. I don't think either Coach K74 that we're going to draft a quarterback this year after taking one last year in the third. You re-signed Mannion for whatever dumb reason. We went over that last week. Kirk's going to be here. Kirk's going to ball out, and he's going to be here for at least 2 more years. And I just don't see – you guys tell me if I'm wrong. The NFL now is not one of those leagues that has those Aaron Rodgers where they sit for 3 years, especially if they're a first-round pick, behind somebody unless it's somebody at the end of their time like Tom Brady or Aaron Rodgers. These quarterbacks in the first round aren't going to sit for 3 seasons. Like Trey Lance got there 1 year, and they're trying to push Jimmy Garoppolo out. Like now.
I agree with Nick. I want to kick the tires, and I don't mean that in like you should start games this year and we should run the Wildcat with Kellen Mond. Like, no, that's not what I mean. But I still want to kick the tires a little bit with Kellen Mond. Let's see what he does in training camp and preseason and give him more of an honest opportunity to make this roster and see what he does. And then if he sucks, we can move on from him, whatever, and we can address that backup / quarterback of the future. I think next year is where we're headed for it.
Yeah, waiting until 2023 gives you more of a chance to play out Kirk's contract.
Correct.
Evaluate Mond a little bit more and wait for a better quarterback class. It's just a better situation overall. I'm sure it's a little less time to have a quarterback sit behind Kirk and learn from him, but I don't think you really need to draft a guy if you're going to take him in the first or second and have him sit behind someone for multiple years like it's going to do some great magic, because I don't see Jordan Love being the next Aaron Rodgers or Brett Favre. And a lot of times these quarterbacks that sit just aren't the ones that pan out really great.
Cliff, I agree 100%. I don't think Mond is NFL ready. His mechanics are awful to begin with. It's something I don't think you can fix. I think anything is fixable. I don't think right now he's ready to start in the NFL. Not even close. But it's unfair to kind of poo-poo on him this early. He's only had 1 year, and let's be real. The year he got drafted, the team was in turmoil. I mean, that's just call it what it is. At least with the coaching and all, how the animosity was tight there. But
he was not getting on the field no matter what. Even in that week 18 game, there was absolutely no way that Mike Zimmer was playing him. He said, no, he's not playing. Wyatt Davis isn't playing. You're not seeing either of those guys.
Speaking of getting Mond on the field, how do you guys feel about one drive and that's it for any of the starters? Because we saw what happened with Herb Smith in the preseason last year. Why don't we let Mond play the whole preseason and just save our quarterback? I think I'm okay with it.
Yes, but also no. Injuries happen regardless. This sucks, but they can happen at training camp. They can happen preseason. They can happen week 1. You don't know.
Do you think the NFL encourages teams to play their starters to try to get some more views on their broadcasts?
I mean, I'm sure they encourage them, but you could have guys like Sean McVay that tell them to suck it and we're not playing any starters the preseason. And I'm okay with that. Saving talent.
With a new system, a new head coach, a new staff all around, I kind of want to see a little more of the starters in preseason just to shake off that rust, just to get some more live game opportunity, game speed that you can't quite replicate, when you're in pads or shells in training camp going against one another. So I'm pro seeing a little more of our guys out there this year.
I see both sides. When you say it, I'm on my side when I speak, and then you say it, and I'm like, you know what? He's got a good point. You're not going to play him every series of every preseason. Yeah, I get it. I want to see more of Mon because, like, I was enamored with his pro day on Instagram. I was like, holy shit. And we got this guy. And then we watch him out there, and I'm like, he looks small. He looks scared. You know,
I mean, if we're talking preseason, there are some guys that you don't need to see much of. You really don't need to see much from Kirk Cousins. You really don't need Justin Jefferson out on the field or your Harrison.
You need lots of Mannion.
Don't
or your Harrison Smith.
Don't put Dalvin out there for more than a series, too. I don't want him getting his knees and ankles.
Yeah, he'll break. He'll break. You don't need much of Dalvin Cook. But a lot of the other guys, like, get them out on the field. Get your KJ Osbornes and your Chad Beebes and those guys. Like, get them out there and get some reps and get Sean Mannion. Make Sean Mannion play all friggin' preseason.
Oh, I'm not watching if they play him. I've seen enough.
See, if you start Sean Mannion, though, you're going to get a lot more A.J. Rose-style plays of sixth-string running backs having 100-yard games and fans just getting so attached to them.
Yeah.
That's funny. That's very funny,
true.
and it's very true.
That happens. We're all guilty of that.
It's true.
Going back up to your previous comment, Adam, I'm looking on Vikings Wire at USA Today. So brought in some talent. We were talking about Jesse Davis, Nate Harrison, and Ty Smith. Ty Smith was a re-sign. All three of these were on their social media, which we saw, which was really cool. I've been following Vikings Twitter to see all these cool. I love watching players like go in the office and sign. It's so much fun. It says Harrison is expected to be more of a depth option for the team, with the primaries right now being Cameron Dantzler and Chandon Sullivan potentially making their starting contributions. But it says here there's still a chance for the team to bring veteran free agent Patrick Peterson back into the fold. Kyle and I talked about that before. It doesn't sound like the contract talks, according to what Kyle was saying, is they're kind of still far apart. But the more and more we look at it, unless something crazy happens or somebody, falls in the lap, it looks like corner is going to be the pick at 12. And it's funny because we were talking about this last week on the show. This is going to be like the fifth corner since 2013. But this is like the position we're all like, yeah, we're good with it. We need a corner.
It is, but it's also none of that counts anymore because that's Spielman and the old staff. And,
it's true.
Whatever. And so none of that worked out. So guys, we're starting fresh. I know it sucks that we're probably drafting another corner and it's not flashy, but that's what the team needs right now. That's what you have to address. And you have to hope that they do a good job with it and find someone who can be a healthy starter for more than a season or two.
I like this right here.
It's funny, as a Vikings fan, you hear so much talk about the depth at cornerback, but I'm not hearing a lot of talk about the depth at wide receiver. There's a lot of receiver talent in this draft. It goes pretty deep. And I wouldn't be surprised if the big board for the Vikings has a receiver falling to them in the top 3 rounds because, I mean, it's not like Adam Thielen's getting much younger these days.
Yep.
Past Thielen, I mean, the 3 option is okay right now. 4 and deeper could use some help.
I was actually just listening to that on another podcast where they were talking about that and how Kevin O'Connell probably doesn't value your fullback tight end positions as much as what we are accustomed to seeing in Minnesota. So we've got Irv Smith. We're going to count him as like a big ass wide receiver out there when he's healthy. So he kind of fills in that void. But you are looking at a scenario, Adam, where it does make sense to draft a receiver earlier than what maybe you're accustomed to, because we're looking at running 4 and 5 wide receiver sets in Minnesota. And if that 4th and 5th wide receiver is your, I don't know, your Chad, we'll keep shitting on Chad Beebe. I don't necessarily know how much that gets it done for the Vikings out there.
And you saw how the Rams use so many different wide receivers in so many different ways. And when you start looking at how that helped that team establish themselves on offense, even though they had a clear-cut number 1. I mean, you had Van Jefferson making big plays. I had never heard of Van Jefferson before this season. And he came out and he had himself a very good season. And then they went and got Odell, and Odell teared it up a little bit.
Dude, if he hadn't tore his ACL in the Super Bowl, he was on his way to winning the MVP. I had it down. He was on fire because focusing in on Cooper Kupp, and he would just, it felt like to me the contribution early, he was going to be great. I'm looking at this too. Cool thing I'm reading over here on Vikings Wire. Hairston only started one game for the Broncos in 2021, and he came away with 4 pass deflections.
I'm telling you, this kid is underrated. I've watched him play. I've kept a little bit of an eye on him. When I saw that the Vikings were bringing him in for a visit, I was a little excited. So this signing is one that I like. One that we should keep an eye on.
Yeah, we read earlier. You guys can go back in the show and listen if you're just joining us. We read off some free agent cornerbacks that are still available. Old Xavier Rhodes, is it a reunion? We'll see. He's going to be out there as well.
At the moment, I feel like KJ Osborne is the Vikings' number 3 wide receiver, and I don't think that's changing anytime soon because also I don't think Thielen, although he's had some injuries to his back and things like that, and even for his age, I don't think he has that ton of wear and tear on his body like a lot of other receivers do, because he kind of got that late start. He wasn't a full-time starter early in his career. He's got more tread on that tires, but it never hurts to bring in more talent, especially if you can do something at a position where, like last year when Adam Thielen went out for a little while, teams were able to cue in on Justin Jefferson, and there were some games that Jefferson just could not get going because teams were bumping him all over the place and making things hard on him.
Thielen has never been straight speed, so his game is going to age a little more graceful than some, players who rely on just speed. He is an excellent route runner, and he can make those, so long as he can still make those cuts and have that high football IQ to know how to just like out game the player in front of him to beat the guy that he's on, he can contribute as he gets older, especially in the red zone. He's such a target in the red zone for Kirk Cousins that you have to keep him on the team.
And Kirk trusts him so much.
Yes.
That's exactly what I was saying at the end of the season. And it wasn't to get Adam Thielen out the door and like not be on the team this year, is you have to start looking at it, and you can slowly put this guy in where maybe Adam, not this season, but next year he's on a snap count. And then you still have him in for every red zone package because he is a touchdown machine. But you got a younger guy who's 10 years younger and can run faster. Well, shit, if he starts learning how to run routes, Adam can still be on the team. And then, in 4 or 5 years, he can retire and he'll be a Viking his whole career. And it'll have the Cinderella ending. But yeah, you always want to get that. You want to keep having that consistent 1-2 punch. It was Diggs and Thielen. Now it's Thielen and Jefferson. And you want to make sure you have that at all times, because you can't just have just a one now. Defenses will double and triple team.
Anytime you can replace an expensive talent with a young player and not have a big drop-off, you have to do it. You almost have to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Scott, we talked about this last week. This was really sad. I actually sent this in the chat. Someone close to Mike Zimmer or close to people close to Mike Zimmer said he's having a really hard time this offseason. He was really stressed out and worn down from this past year. I said a couple of nice words to his daughter on Instagram and DM'd her, and she responded back a couple of times. But yeah, he's stressed to the max. I hope in my heart of hearts he retires, because
Zimmer has said that he wants to come and do some more coaching. He is ready for that. So I haven't heard anything back on Spielman on his general manager interview with the Steelers. Nothing there yet. But again, Mike Zimmer, I haven't even heard of him having any visits at all. So that's quite interesting, considering he was just a head coach and he had quite a bit of respect. It makes me wonder how much these rumors about how he handled things with the team kind of echoed through the league and how much they believe them, because I'm not sure if that has an impact on why he hasn't had any interest really, or if it has to do with him kind of going to his ranch and just doing his own thing for a while, being with family. I don't know.
It's a little bit of
find some way. They'll find some way to get him somewhere if he wants. Because you know what? That guy that we hired from the Colts, I can tell you from all my Colts fans, they hate his fucking guts. And he made his way over here real fast. Ryan Grigson, Pat McAfee hates that guy. And he's bouncing around, like, I don't think Zimmer was that bad, but maybe we'll see.
And Spielman will get hired. I don't think it will be this offseason. He was probably let go to at a weird time to get hired so quick. But I think you give him a year off, and we hit the next cycle of available spots for GMs to go to. He'll definitely get hired at that one. There will be some team out there, and rightfully so. If you're the Jacksonville Jaguars or whoever, you've been stuck in shit mode for I don't know how long, and you look at Spielman and what he was able to do with the Vikings. Yeah, bring that in. Even if it does kind of turn into spinning the tires at 8-8 seasons, that's an improvement for a lot of teams out there.
Yeah,
you have no idea how much Kyle West would love that situation right there, Cliff.
What?
Can you imagine Zim coming back to U.S. Bank as a heel D coordinator and getting on top of a D lineman's shoulders and flipping all the fans? Yeah, he'll get beers thrown at him real fast.
Yeah.
You better not. Especially when you're the guy that opened it up there and beat Green Bay the first game there. Come on, bro. You had the miracle there. Nah. He better not. Don't put that in the universe.
Second, and let's talk about WrestleMania for just a quick moment.
Will Smith versus Chris Rock.
We
said we weren't going to do it. You did
Brock Lesnar versus Roman Reigns, the former Vikings players, headlining WrestleMania on Sunday night with the big main event. Who you got, West?
It's going to be Brock.
I have Roman.
Ooh.
I have Roman clean.
Oh, that's bold.
You know what? You know what's weird? I don't watch wrestling anymore, but I can't believe that's a focal point. Isn't Stone Cold Steve Austin coming back for one match this weekend?
He's not wrestling. He's doing a little interview segment with Kevin Owens.
Oh, that's bullshit. I thought he was wrestling. Disregard.
Ah, see, they got you.
Well, hell, I heard have one of those Paul brothers on there. You like them?
No, I don't.
No.
They're going to do things. Pat McAfee's wrestling.
That I would watch. I support Pat.
I'm entertained for.
Yeah, I support Pat. I love that.
His stuff with Adam Cole on NXT was great.
Yeah.
I love that show so much.
But yeah, if you're a Vikings fan, you're watching WrestleMania, you have to wait for that main event because that should be kind of fun.
I always wonder if
otherwise the card looks really weak.
Yeah, I always wonder, Adam, if I happen to have been at training camp, because that was when I used to go every season, when Roman Reigns was a Viking, and you wouldn't have known or cared because he was an absolute nobody camp body, who wasn't going to make the team. And it's always funny to think that he probably signed an autograph for a kid at some point. And so some kid has like the football that you see, like the training camp football.
It says Joe and Hawaii on it, and people are like, who's that?
Yeah, and they don't even know that, like, oh yeah, that's Roman Reigns.
I'm keeping this comment. This is the gold star of the night. He don't need a stinking job. He's got that young girlfriend to keep him busy. Dude.
He's got those dogs. He's got family, grandkids. I mean, he's a busy guy.
Yeah.
Mike, I hate to put you on blast out here, but Mike Zimmer, net worth and salary. American professional football coach has a net worth of $12 million. Yeah, you're going to be just fine. You're going to do okay.
I don't usually like to promote this because I usually think it's hot garbage. But if you go over to the Vikings website and you look at their mailbag for this week, it's actually kind of interesting.
Really?
Oh, yeah?
There's some decent opinions in there and some thoughts that I thought that were a little, even a touch on the bold side in some ways.
Good for them.
Yeah, I was happy to see that turnaround.
I like that. You know,
and they talked about quite a few things that we've already discussed. So that's what kind of brought it up to me, is that we're talking about a lot of these things that they talked about in that Vikings mailbag, and
I haven't read any of those. I don't read it because I think it's all the Homer shit. But you know what's funny? I wake up around 8:30 every morning. I go into work around 10, and I saw it come on today when I was like brushing my teeth and getting ready, and I was like, I'm not going to read that, but thank you, because
it'll read this week.
I'm going to read it now. Thank you. You know what else I'm going to read? The Viking Age. No, I'm just kidding. We won't do shameless plugs yet. We're almost
good
there.
Work over there.
There's good work over there. Well, I think what we should do going forward, because we talked about the signings. I think, at least if you guys are up for it, I'm not going to tell you what to do. We don't.
Let's talk about another signing.
Let's do it.
Because the Vikings had two signings this weekend when Adrian Peterson and Brett Favre came to St. Paul in Minneapolis to sign autographs. And they had a nice little interview video interview with Adrian Peterson where he said he's open to return to the Vikings, and one day he will return to Minnesota and retire a Viking.
Yep.
How does that make you guys feel?
I put that video up on our podcast page. He also went on to say that clearly we've got Dalvin Cook, and Dalvin Cook is a very special player, and all of that stuff. So I don't think he's actually like, oh yeah, I'm coming back to Minnesota. Of course, I don't think there's anything left in the tank for Adrian Peterson. I think we've seen that last year that tank is pretty much empty for him.
He also talked about how he was really impressed by the number of fans that still have 28 jerseys of his.
Of course.
And I guess part of me is still one of those fans that still sees all the nostalgic old jerseys, the ones that people probably got at the secondhand store or something like that. And there's nothing wrong with representing your team with a jersey from the secondhand store. But I'm just saying they're more readily available and probably cheaper on eBay. That's all I'm saying. You can probably get Adrian Peterson a little cheaper than Justin Jefferson.
Yeah. He'll retire a Viking one day. He'll do that one-day contract to retire a Viking. I still don't think they let anyone use the number 28. I don't think they have, other than a really unusual circumstance that came up. I think once they had someone gave it to him momentarily, but they haven't used 28 since he left the team. Potentially, he goes into the Hall of Fame. I think you're looking at Ring of Honor retiring that jersey number for Adrian Peterson in Minnesota as well, too. I think that's how highly the Wilfs. I think that's how highly the Wilfs view him and his time in Minnesota.
It'll be really hard for any Vikings player to come anywhere near his rushing totals for the franchise. Yeah. So
it's just, especially with it being such a passing league.
I need him to sign. I need him to sign one more year. That's going to bother my OCD. Yards in his career, 14,918. Oh, you got to give me, what is that, 82? Give me an 85-yard game. Not even a game. Just get 85 yards and then go over 15,000. That'd be cool. 120 rushing touchdowns. Good Lord.
That's a lot of touchdowns.
I was thinking in my head, is he going in the Hall of Fame? Yeah, he's going in the Hall of Fame for sure.
The Hall of Fame. I watched that 2009 game of the Vikings and the Packers, and you forget how good Adrian Peterson was until you go back and watch him, and you're like, holy shit, was he a good running back from Minnesota? I like Dalvin Cook, but he put
once Adrian hit that hole and did that cut, he was gone.
I'll tell you right now, I'm thinking of this. It's not my favorite run of his, but my favorite soundbite. I want to say it sounded like Chris Collinsworth, but I don't think it was. They were playing the Raiders, and there was just a missed block, and it was a hole as wide as this desk here. He barely had to cut, and you just heard the announcer go, "See ya," and he's just gone. It's the 2015 season, I think. Yeah, I know we played the Chargers that year because he had a great stiff arm on Eric Weddle, which I love. It's my brother's team. He was talking all this shit before, and I was like, all right, we'll see. I was like, you're not going to do well in that stadium.
I'm probably tied for my favorite Adrian Peterson play. It's either the one against the Cleveland Browns where he stiff arms two guys and just keeps going, or there's that play against the Steelers where he levels the safety in the middle of just absolutely leveled him and put the hurt on. Those were some two damn good plays.
Oh my goodness, he's fifth all time. He's got to come back. He's got to. If he can, all right. Let me do the math real quick while you guys filibuster for me.
Are we mathing on this?
15, 270. I'm going to add 1 yard from Barry Sanders.
I have no clue what we're doing.
He's all right. So Adrian Peterson is fifth all time right now. I'm trying to see the exact yardage that he could go to pass Barry freaking Sanders for fourth all time, but he's top 5 all time leading rusher. Of course he's going in the Hall of Fame. What am I thinking over here? I was like, oh, maybe he's fringe. You idiot.
I saw a weird question on Twitter the other day that had me a little confused, and then I kind of got blasted a little bit. FanDuel posted and asked, is Antonio Brown a top 10 all-time wide receiver? And my first gut reaction was no.
I say no.
And then I kind of went and did a little bit of research, and his days with the Steelers, he was far and beyond the best when he was with the Steelers.
Dude was a machine.
Is there more sneaky yardage in here than what I'm
There
realizing
is.
with him?
There is.
Yeah,
He's already like top 20 on the all-time list, I think.
wild.
So
Adrian-
he's been sneaky in those few seasons that he absolutely dominated. Made up a lot of his career, but I'll admit, before I started looking into the numbers and stuff, I never thought of him as Hall of Fame or anything like that. I just thought he was really good.
Yeah? What'd you come up with on your Peterson stats here, Smith?
Adrian Peterson, I'm going to add one more, which I already added one more just to be safe. He needs 353 yards to pass Barry Sanders all time. I need it. I need it right now. And here's what's crazy. Frank Gore is at number 3 with the exact 16,000 yards even. That's so crazy.
He played forever, man.
He did.
And
But
now
yeah.
I see that. Now I think I see his son playing in the NFL.
Yeah.
And it just feels like it's kind of the same thing again.
Hey,
he should come back just to play with his son on the same team. Like that.
I want to answer this because I have nostalgia here, and I'm going to piss everybody off because I'm going to pick 3 Shawn Michaels matches. Number 3, it broke my heart as a kid. Stone Cold and HBK. Not a very good match, but watching the torch get past the Stone Cold and Mike Tyson knocking Shawn Michaels out, WrestleMania 14. WrestleMania 10 with Razor Ramon. Ladder match. Classic. Number 8, you can't beat 12. Nothing will ever beat 12 in my book. That Iron Man match for an hour, and he was the baby face at the time. That was my childhood in a nutshell. Loved it. No Undertaker matches, though.
Adam, you got 3?
No, but I've got one. It's WrestleMania 3. It's Ricky the Dragon Steamboat and Macho Man Randy Savage. That match was unbelievable. If you watch that match, then go back and watch AEW, you'll see that most of their inspiration for their matches is a lot of pinfalls, a lot of action, some high spots. That's basically what AEW is now.
Yeah. I'd go with WrestleMania 13, I believe. Bret Hart, Steve Austin. That's an all-time classic. I think one of the first TLC matches took place at WrestleMania. That was another classic one.
The Dudleys, Edge and Christian, and the Hardys.
That Attitude Era. Oof.
They absolutely tore that up. And then, that Iron Man match was really good, too. There's got to be some good Undertaker ones in there I'm forgetting about. Didn't Undertaker and Shawn?
Oh, they had a couple, I believe.
They had a classic there towards the end of...
Oh, man. I wanted Shawn to win so bad, but I knew he wasn't going to, and you couldn't break the streak with him. They had some good matches together, not at WrestleMania. Yeah. I loved the first Hell in the Cell. That was, for that time, I was just enamored with everything that happened. We're over here talking about wrestling. I'm just peak childhood right now. I'm thinking about Mankind getting thrown off and dying when he fell through that table like 25 feet in the air. That was wild. Oh, here's what I was going to say earlier, but Adam, as he does, saves the day because we had more signing to talk about. I'm not going to tell these guys what to do because we don't do that on this show. We just kind of say, hey, you want to do this, and we'll do it. I'm going to do my due diligence on 3 guys for tape-wise, and one probably won't be somebody that you think we're going to take. I kind of just want to do film on Sam Howell just because he's a quarterback and a Carolina kid. But I'm going to look at 3 guys that could possibly land at the Vikings, and we'll go over and see, okay, which one do I really, really like? But we talked about it last week. Any of these 3 corners, Stingley, Gardner, or McDuffie, I'm going to be over the moon if we get any one of those guys.
Oh, yeah.
We won't be mad either if one of those like really top star wide receivers comes to us and the Vikings are like, we can't not take him. But
how far do you think Ojabo is going to fall now that his the University of Michigan pass rusher there had that injury?
If you go off of talent, I mean, I'd still take him in the first. He's probably going to land with a playoff team and probably sit, if I had to guess.
That injury is going to hurt him, make him slide. But part of me really wants him to fall the second round, but I don't think he will.
That's the same. I think he'll fall to the end of the first and he'll end up in a good situation. It sucks now, but maybe it's a blessing in disguise for him. I'll tell you what, though, now that we're on it, we can kind of go on a rant like we did last week on what we were talking about. the absolute lack of empathy, and it was shown through various tweets out there for
Oh,
that kid when he's
yeah.
laying on the field, was embarrassing and disgraceful,
Yeah.
just awful. And the players came out like, if you want an entertaining Vikings player Twitter follow, go follow Aaron Henderson. He will tell you everything he's thinking all the time.
I've seen it firsthand. It was one of the most. It was painful, dude. When I was at training camp and Greg Childs tore.
Oh man, you've told us about that.
What did he tear? He tore both something in both knees at the same time.
Yeah.
And it was in the end zone right in front of me, and they were literally just like, we are moving to the other side of the end zone, and we are finishing this drill while they haul him out on the stretcher in the cart. It was absolutely brutal.
And you told me, I remember you told me that you could hear him.
You could hear him. You could hear him.
Just crying in pain.
And
yelling out.
And everyone was just like in the stands was like, what the fuck? And the Vikings just kept on going. It was brutal. I felt
I get it that they have like contractually obligated times to do this, but not to take 5 minutes because, they didn't have the cameras rolling. But when Teddy tore his knee, I bet you everybody stopped.
Oh, yeah.
I know Kyle Rudolph talked about it, and he was like, hey,
Right.
It was dead silent in there. We just couldn't believe what was happening. And I don't know. I just think it's really gross. The word the word that comes to mind when I think about this and watching that video is gross. I just be better, guys. I
don't even cheer or feel happy or anything when opposing players get hurt. I want the Vikings to beat other teams when they're at their absolute best.
Yeah. That's why I'm over that meme. I've been over that meme for a long time. The one of Anthony Barr when he sacked Aaron Rodgers. And
Aaron Rodgers walked into a bar. I hope I never have to hear that joke ever again.
Yeah, he broke his collarbone.
That's gross.
I don't want to beat Jordan Love. I want to beat Aaron Rodgers when the Vikings play him, right? Right.
That's good. I would agree. All right, I guess it's plug time. Unless we got any more Vikings news to talk about, we'll start plugging away.
I guess I'll do one quick plug because we ran a little bit behind on some of our stuff for our podcast for non-live, non-YouTube listeners. We do have everything back up and running right now on Spotify and Google Podcasts. It's usually a day or two behind the live stuff. So if you are a regular listener over on YouTube, or not YouTube, but Spotify, Google Podcasts, or wherever you usually get your podcasts, we're back in the swing of things, so don't worry about it. You can find us on there again.
Thank you for that, Adam.
And we'll do a little bit of horn tooting, if you don't mind, over on Podomatic, where we host our podcasts. We were the #1 football podcast on Podomatic last month. So if you do anything from Podomatic, and that includes listening to us on iTunes, or is it Apple Podcasts? No, I don't know. Apple changes their stuff so often. Spotify, Google Podcasts, wherever you listen to us, that's been helping us so much and got us to #1 on the football charts. So thank you so much for that. It felt so good seeing that when I went in to upload the newest shows.
That's really dope.
Also, I want to thank all of you that have been checking out some of my work over on the Viking Age. There's always some great content over there with some opinions behind it. And it'll keep you up to date on a lot of the signings and things if you check on the social media aspects of things. Also, I've done 2 articles for Undead Walking this month, and one was a really cool movie review. And I like watching movies. I do. And you can talk to me about movies over on any of my socials, whether it's Twitter or Facebook or Instagram. I'm always posting about what special horror movies I've been watching over on my Instagram. And I link that to my Twitter as well. So you can check me out on Twitch. Some of you I saw someone had the little Twitch logo down next to them. So thank you for that. I always enjoy having that interaction. I am currently working on my setup for lighting and things to start streaming more on my Twitch channel through my Xbox Series S because my laptop is on its last legs.
We're glad we could wear it out for you.
It's been a good laptop, Mr. $300 laptop for, I think it's been 8 years now.
That's That's crazy. It's awesome though. Yeah, Cliff, I saw that too. I really enjoyed the take on that movie. And thank you, Scott. You're always a regular here. We appreciate that. Kyle West is going to push his merch now, so go buy Purple People Podcast merch and a pretty photo because he's a great photographer.
Yes, thank you. You should do so. Checking out the link below. Also, like I say every week, share it on Facebook, social media, Twitter, all those different places. Help spread the word. That really helps get new eyes out on my work, and I would appreciate if you do so. Adam, when I get a headset for my Xbox, maybe one day we will stream Apex Legends on your Twitch. And everyone can be like, wow, I am awful at this game.
But I do have one question for you that might be offensive to an artist like yourself. How do you feel when you show someone a piece of art, a beautiful photograph you took, and someone says that you must have a wonderful camera?
Yeah, that camera takes really good photos. Legitimately, this is my response to that. Your stove cooks really good food, too.
I'm dying. I've never even thought about that. I've obviously never said it to anyone, but I've never thought of it that way. And that is the funniest thing that I've heard all day long. God, that's funny.
That, believe it or not, is a very common reoccurring.
Yes, it's one of the things you should never do to a photographer.
Yeah.
You know, I told you guys before on the show, I loved the Dan Lebitard show back in the day. I'm not really a fan of it anymore, but they had I don't know if it was a bit or not, but one of their producers used to say that. He's like, they were talking about one of the most iconic photos of all time. And they're like, yeah, I wouldn't even have to take a photo. I just put my camera down, hit on video mode. I'll pause it. Same thing. I have the greatest photo of all time. And I could just feel the rage building in the studio. They were like, what are you talking about?
Like I said, your stove cooks really good food.
God, that's so funny.
Yeah.
There's my stuff. If you guys want to follow it, I think I announced it last week, but I'm going to play my first solo gig. This is really sad, and I don't like doing this stuff because I don't want to make it about me. But music is a very big part of my life, and I just want to give my deepest condolences out in the internet in the void forever because they're never going to look at this, but they'll never know how much they inspired me. The Foo Fighters, my heart is heavy. I'm going on reckless speculation here, but I've seen lots of articles. Kids, don't do drugs. Please don't.
Really? It was that? Yeah. I hadn't heard that part. That's sad.
Yeah, according to the first initial report, he had like over 10 different drugs in his system. Wow. Not really a battle that was hidden from the public. Taylor Hawkins of the Foo Fighters, a legendary drummer, died on Friday night, I think. The saddest news. I'm going to jam the Foo Fighters for a couple weeks. I know you guys probably big fans of them too, or at least some of the listeners might be as well, but don't do drugs, guys. Don't take it away from there are people out there that love you. There's other ways to get through what you're going through or trying to have fun, but had to bring that up because I'm going to play.
If you enjoy a little bit of comedy horror, Studio 666, nice little horror movie featuring the members of the Foo Fighters. It's a fun little flick. It's not going to win any Oscars, but it's fun.
Thank you, Cliff. That's funny. I appreciate that. I'm going to play some Foo Fighters songs for sure at that set coming up soon, but just want to throw that out there, man. Some of my musical heroes, definitely one of my favorite bands ever.
Is it going to be mostly covers or a few originals in there?
So fun fact, I have 4 original songs now, which is a lot of fun. One was gifted to me, but I nonetheless know you've never heard it before. But yeah, I'm going to play a couple. I think I'm going to play my mother's song, even though it's really sad to talk about, someone passing away. But that, or have a really good kind of R&B song that I'm really excited to play. So yeah.
Do you want to give away where that's going to be?
Yeah. I'll post it on my stuff here too. So I'm near Charlotte. That's why I'm wearing the shirt. Obviously, it's going to be in Gastonia, my hometown where I grew up, and it's going to be at a little restaurant called the Pita Wheel, really popular around here. It's going to be on May 4th, and I'm going to probably live stream it. I bought this fancy little mini rig about this big. You can set your phone in. It plugs in. It has a microphone. I got one of the new microphone muffs right here, but
nice.
Yeah, I'm gonna live stream it for you guys because I'm just so excited to finally play music again. So I'm off my rant. Sorry I talked so long, but there you go.
But I do want to thank everyone for joining in. I know it's been a late show, but we still had quite a nice turnout in chat, and I appreciate that you guys tuned in to watch us and chat about what's going on. There's always something going on in Vikings land, and we'll be back next week to talk about more of it. So in the meantime, stay classy, Minnesota.